So I have the delight of introducing Debbie Pearson, our guest speaker for today's session. And we're very proud of the association with the Oxford Professional Education Group, as we're all part of the same UXI education group. So Debbie has worked in various sales and marketing roles, and her work has taken her to diverse markets, ranging from China to the USA to African continent, as well as over Europe. While undertaking her MBA studies at Henley Business School, Debbie was approached to teach the CIM professional qualifications by Oxford College of Marketing. This led her to qualifying as a teacher of adults, which she continues to do. As well as lecturing for Oxford College of Marketing, Debbie runs a consultancy business, working with clients to improve performance in marketing and sales. She acts as a member for the alumni wishing to progress professional marketing careers. She also works pro bono for charitable organizations associated with the Worshipful Company of Marketers. Debbie, we are very proud and honored to have you speak today, and we would like to welcome you to the IMM Graduate School IMM Friday session. I'm going to hand over to you. I think we should do the questions and answers at the end, although if you have a question, please post it in our chat section and we will try to address it. And then at the end, Debbie will take questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Can I just check? And can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great.
I can.
Good. Okay, excellent. May I ask you just to cut out any background noise, if you could remain on mute during the main session, because there's quite a lot of people in the room, which is great. So thank you very much for inviting me today. And I'm sitting on a very miserable day here on the south coast of England today. So it's quite nice to be talking to you and in another part of the world. I have actually worked in South Africa on part of my travels, and I have had the pleasure of visiting IMM in Johannesburg as well. So it was quite exciting. So this is me, but I've been introduced, so I won't waste any more time on that. So what we're doing today is considering what potentially the impacts of artificial intelligence and machine learning are on our profession, on marketing. So there's a lot of noise out there, but you know, what does it actually practically mean? So we'll have a little look at the links between digital disruption, because that's really important for us to think about.
Sorry, Debbie, to interrupt. Unfortunately, I'm unable to hear you. Is anybody else able to hear anything?
I can hear.
I can hear. I also can hear perfectly.
Okay, sorry, it must be something on my side. Sorry again to interrupt.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so we think about how this digital disruption is affecting the practice of marketing. And what does that mean perhaps of the future? What do we need to think about for our careers and in practice, and also, of course, for our customers? So, you know, what is the impact? You know, got a nice crystal ball here. I'm trying to think about the future. Now, if you were to type into Google, what is artificial intelligence, you would get a load of definitions coming back. So I've just picked some that are, I think, relevant, and they're very up to date. So as you can see on this slide, the first definition we have is that artificial intelligence is the theory and development of computer systems that are able to perform tasks which normally require human intelligence. Nice, neat definition. I was at a presentation in December last year, and a lady called Maxine Ricketts gave a great presentation on artificial intelligence. And she just simply describes artificial intelligence as any computer system that performs tasks previously performed by humans. So it's all a bit scary, really, in terms of, are jobs all going to be done by robots? And although there is all this discussion around artificial intelligence, I don't think we really consider sufficiently. There's not a lot of definitions around what does artificial intelligence mean for us as marketeers. So we will try to look at that this morning. Furthermore, as a result of this intelligence, we've got machine learning. And again, there are loads and loads of definitions of machine learning. And as you can see here, it's a type of artificial intelligence that provides computers with the ability to learn, which is really quite scary. However, there's really nothing new about this concept. The very eminent scientist Alan Turing wrote a paper in 1950, and it was called "Can Machines Think?" And I'm just going to read you the very first line of his paper from 1950. Can machines think? This should begin with the definitions of the meanings of the term machine and think. So I think it's a great example of academics being ahead of what happens in reality. And machine learning now is becoming a reality in some organizations. So the pharmaceutical company Johnson & Johnson are using machine learning to understand how their customers communicate their wants and needs, to try to pick up on their emotions. So through speaking with customers, understanding their tone of voice to pick up on emotions. Are they happy? Are they unhappy? Are they depressed? Are they sad? Rather than just going on what customers say, because it could be two slightly different things. So Twitter is also using machine learning, and it's using it to detect sarcasm in tweets. Unfortunately, it's not yet able to predict the sarcasm in tweets, which is quite useful. But the implications are very wide-ranging. I think it's also very important that we just remind ourselves, I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs, but you know, what is marketing? I've chosen the CIM definition because the CIM is the largest body of professional marketers in the world. And I also think that we often forget in terms of marketing, the end of this definition, the word profitably. So marketing is the management process of identifying, anticipating and satisfying customer wants and needs profitably. So I think artificial intelligence and machine learning hopefully will be very, very beneficial to us in the future in terms of identifying and anticipating those customer wants and needs. But I think we're still going to need some human interaction in terms of the satisfaction part of things and the empathy. And remember, all these processes in terms of programming a robot, it's only going to be as good as what we tell it to do. So it's perhaps changing skills for us as marketeers as we move forward. So what happens when we pull together artificial intelligence, machine learning, and marketing? So we get marketing technology, or MarTech. It's simply intelligence, artificial intelligence applied to the marketing function. It's a hugely fragmented area, and I think it's fair to say that it's a growing area. And I think what you need to think about in terms of this fragmentation, and if you were going to use artificial intelligence and machine learning in your marketing practice, is what is the problem you're trying to solve? There could be quite a large investment in terms of the intelligence. So you've got to be very, very clear if you're going to use artificial intelligence and machine learning, that you know why you want it. So if we just look at some stats, so these are stats that go back to last year. I'm afraid I don't have the 2021 stats, but you can see this massive growth in the number of marketing technology organizations. And and the demand for marketing technology. So in 2011, there were about 150 marketing technology companies, and that's grown to 8,000 in 2020. And these figures were just pre-pandemic. So it'd be very, very interesting to get the 2021 figures, whether or not this has grown at such an amazing rate in lockdown. So I don't know if all of these companies will survive. I don't know if there'll be consolidation in the industry, but it's just to give you a picture of what's going on out there. So what does it all mean though, and why does it matter? Disruption, is it a positive thing for marketing, or is it a negative thing for marketing? Or perhaps it's both. Accenture and Microsoft carried out a research project last year, and the results suggest that 80% of marketing leaders who they interviewed believe that artificial intelligence and machine learning will have quite a significant impact on their practice in the next 3 years. And that's quite interesting in terms of that feeling and that consideration, given that we're in a global pandemic and lockdown. I don't know if that's going to slow things down, or is it going to speed things up? Question. So what Accenture and Microsoft found was that 84% of those marketing leaders that they interviewed anticipate that artificial intelligence will have some kind of impact on their workflow, so taking away mundane human tasks. 82% believe that they would be able to get enhanced data to get better insights into their customers and consumers and potential customers and consumers. And 64% believe that those insights will allow more effective campaign targets. But again, it's only as good as the programming. So Gartner talk about digital disruptors. And of course, what we are seeing as a result of technology is a shift in power to customers and consumers, because they can be available 24/7, 365 days of the year, virtually wherever they are in the world. So we need to change our practices as a result of that. We can't continue with the traditional marketing push practices. We've got to get involved with our customers to take them with us, if you like, and remain competitively advantaged. So Gartner talk about digital disruptors, and they say that that's any entity that affects the fundamental expectations and behaviors of culture, markets, industries, processes that caused by or expressed through digital capabilities, channels, and assets. So it's really important that we think about, as marketeers, what does that mean for what we need to do? So there's some food for thought here in terms of a French academic called Waidat Batat. She's a professor of marketing, and she's undertaken a huge amount of research in terms of the digital disruptors and what does that fundamentally mean for some of our core marketing frameworks. So I guess we're all very familiar with the extended marketing mix, the 7 Ps, that's been around since the 1980s. But of course, that was actually based on work that was carried out in the 1960s by Neil Borden and Jerome McCarthy, where they had the 4 Ps. But with the advent of services marketing, because of the change, because of the significance of services in the 80s, the people, physical evidence, and process 3 Ps were added to the original 4 Ps. And what Batat talks about in her book, Experiential Marketing, Customer Experience and the 7 Es, is the impact of technology on the 7 Ps and how things need to shift and change in the 21st century. So she has changed product to experience, that we're not just selling products and products and services anymore, but it's all about the end-to-end customer experience. So as they go through the customer journey, are we being as impactful as we can in resonating with that emotion that the customer may feel on the journey? She's swapped price for exchange. So we're getting a symbiotic transaction, an exchange process. Marketing has always been an exchange process. Marketing should have always been an exchange process, but it's becoming even more significant today. She talks about extension instead of place. So an extension of our channels. And I think it's one of the hardest things for us to manage as marketeers. Again, because of digital disruption, because our customers can be in so many places. How do we keep track of all of that? She talks about emphasis instead of promotion. So the emphasis on our brands, on our products, on our services. Why are we superior to our competition? And how does that resonate with the customers and potential customers? Now, one thing that I find particularly interesting that she talks about is how significant empathizing with the customer, potential customer is. So it's not just about people in terms of their knowledge and their skills. It really is about developing the role of the part-time marketeer. So not just leaving marketing to the marketing department, but that everybody in the organization can have an impact on that customer experience and the interactions on the exchange process with the customer. So empathy capital. So again, this emotionality. So the schools of thought in marketing that are shifting so much towards buying decisions being based more on emotions than perhaps traditionally we have thought of buying decisions. Even in a B2B environment, there's quite a lot of research that suggests that the emotional side of business buyers is more significant than perhaps we've given it credit for in the past, where we're thinking that no, business buying decisions are made for rational reasons and emotion doesn't come into it. That's not quite true. So physical evidence, the brand is about those emotional touch points, and that of course links into the empathy capital and it links into experience. And I think perhaps she's cheated a little bit on the process P, where she talks about emic and etic processes. So it is a development of process and systems, but it's the thinking, it's the market-oriented thinking that we need to think about processes from the customer's point of view, so from the outside coming in, as well as the processes that we have internally within the organization, so the inside out. And market orientation will always teach us that we should put the customer at the forefront of everything we do and work backwards. But in my experience, most organizations don't do that. They create the process internally and then they push it out to the customer. And perhaps it is a source of competitive advantage if we can get those things right. But of course, all this stuff has to be based on the knowledge that you have within the organization and the understanding. So how good is the data that you've got? And can you use artificial intelligence and machine learning to improve that data as we move forward? So what else happens? It's about gaining access to customers' feelings and emotions. And I gave you that example of Johnson & Johnson earlier. We can use artificial intelligence to help customers get involved with us. So that exchange process, co-creation of products and services as we move forward to meet the needs of the customers. And hopefully by doing that, we capture both the positives and the negatives. And don't be afraid of the negatives. If something's wrong and you know about it, at least you can put in place something to put things right. So don't be afraid of the problems. Artificial intelligence can help us aid innovation through sharing, and it can help improve that empathy capital. So the people within the organizations getting involved with the customers. And of course, all of this stuff, we've got the intelligence can help us design that customer experience and the experiential marketing activities that we're going to carry out. And hopefully that's the source of competitive advantage. Now, some organizations are really, really good at this co-creation. Lego, the lovely, wonderful Lego, are absolutely brilliant at co-creating with their so-called super users, so real Lego enthusiasts, whereby they get buy-in in terms of, well, you know, what kind of Lego model would you like to build? And then they go off and they'll research it further, and if it's viable, they will create the product. And of course, if you are a big Lego fan, there's a huge sense of satisfaction that you've actually partaken in a product development process. And it's very cost effective for Lego to do that as well. And if you are a big Lego fan, I should imagine it's a huge amount of fun. So don't forget the fun part. So artificial intelligence and machine learning can interact with the 7 E's to create a so-called phygital customer experience. So with all of this, please don't forget that we do still live in a real world. So that alliance between the digital environment and the physical environment is really important. And that can come about in many ways. So experience with artificial intelligence, you know, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, they're all there now. They're all run of the mill. But we can deliver digital experiences in different ways. So the so-called cyborg experience, the human robots. Now, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a group of hotels in Japan, and they decided that they were going to man their hotels purely with robots. No people at all. So from the reception to behind the bar to in the restaurant, even going as far as having a digital assistant in the room, there were no people. And it actually backfired on them. And in one of these hotels, they ended up firing over 400 robots because the customers didn't like it. It was too much. And Japan as a culture is really very advanced in terms of embracing technology and being ahead of the curve. But it was a little bit too much. So don't forget that physical experience. Don't forget that human interaction. The empathy capital part is still very, very important. So, you know, we haven't, the robots haven't got the emotions yet. So co-creation, collaboration, and having a connected experience with our customers and potential customers is significant. It's important, and we need to be able to work together to be as productive . Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen? Yeah?
We can hear you and we see your screen now.
Sorry about that. That was my Wi-Fi. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of where artificial intelligence and machine learning has been used successfully in terms of marketing practices. So Tata, the Indian conglomerate, they actually, my ex-boss was responsible for this. They've created a deep learning enabled robot. And that provides real-time insight into what their customers are doing. And they originally experimented with this on 1,000 customers. And they are a huge organization and they do have deep pockets. And they also looked at the partners as well. And the robot comes with its own automated dashboard. So in real time, they can gather data on what customers are doing. And that helps them direct their sales efforts more appropriately. So it's productivity gain. So it's still human, so we're translating the data into reality. But they've also, as a result of programming this robot, they've picked up over 500 new customers, which has increased the team's output without adding to their headcount. Obviously, there was an investment in the artificial intelligence in the first place, but their business case clearly suggests that the investment was worthwhile. And they believe that that's a source of competitive advantage for them. So Colt, the telecoms company, they've been using artificial intelligence in terms of looking at customer satisfaction. So traditionally, Colt, along with lots and lots of other organizations, has used Net Promoter Score, created by Reichheld a number of years ago, used very widely throughout the world. So looking at the likelihood, how likely are you to recommend a product or service, etc. But as a lot of organizations don't do, Colt recognized that that was just a number in itself, and it needed to have some qualitative data understanding why the numbers were coming out as the numbers were. So they decided to invest in their own artificial intelligence and machine learning. And they created something called CAST. And if you go onto Colt's website, you can read about this. They have improved their Net Promoter Score as a result of their own technology. And they believe their technology, their artificial intelligence is so good that they actually sell it to other people now. So for example, they sold their CAST system to Primark in the Benelux countries, and Primark have used it to data mine thousands and thousands of Google reviews to understand what they therefore need to do to improve customer experience. So the Bain consulting company have reported that Colt's Net Promoter Score, as a result of their investment in artificial intelligence, is now more than twice as good as any of their competitors. And Colt really like to boast about that because they've got a true source of competitive advantage as a result of using the artificial intelligence. So they put themselves out there as industry leaders. And obviously being a telecoms company, they're surrounded by technology all the time. So it's not surprising that they're kind of leading edge as far as artificial intelligence and machine learning are concerned. So they have actually put on their website, and I quote, "We build intelligence into everything we do, from the network through to how we deliver, which is why our Net Promoter Score leads the industry." So bold statement, but true. So looking at some practical considerations when you're thinking about the future of marketing, what do we need to think about? What do we need to do to ensure that we are prepared for the robots? there are quite a lot of significant factors, and I think these need to be really coming from the top of an organization, because it is about the organizational culture. So, and it's about embracing the art of the probable, if you like, what the future might hold. So the leadership, often in organizations, marketing isn't represented at the leadership level. I mean, I'm very, very disappointed. I know it was a number of years ago, but the CIM carried out a survey in the FTSE 350 companies. So the FTSE 350, it's the London Stock Exchange. It's the largest 350 companies listed on the London Stock Exchange by market capitalization, i.e. the value of the company. And the question that the CIM asked of the FTSE 350 companies was, do you have marketing representation at board level? And it horrified me to find that there were only 8 organizations of those 350 that had marketing representation at board level. So, you know, there needs to be a fundamental shift away from marketing of those fluffy people who sit in the corner and create leaflets. No, I mean, the marketing never was that. It's just sometimes it's not perceived in for the value that marketing actually creates. So embracing marketing from a leadership level, I do think that there is a shift occurring in organizations with regard to the significance of marketing. And I think a lot of that has come about because of brand valuations and the significance of brand valuations and these crazy, crazy numbers that the tech companies that have their brands valued at the billions and billions of US dollars. So change management isn't necessarily an easy thing to undertake and to implement effectively in an organization, but it does take very strong leadership and it needs very, very clear direction, and it needs change agents within the organization. And doing all those things while remaining agile and responding to the wants and needs of the customers. So I guess this is where perhaps emic and etic process come in. So understanding from the customer's viewpoint what it is that we need to do internally. Internal marketing as well. Often internal communications is left, or in my experience, it's been left to the HR department. I don't think that's right. The internal marketing, if we're going to take all those people with us and we're going to build that empathy capital, needs to come from the marketing department, so that everybody's got a joined up viewpoint. And of course, throughout all of this, what we're doing is we're upskilling our people, the knowledge that they need and the skills that they need to take us into this robotic age. So there's quite a lot of things to think about. So it's about the readiness to embrace the technology, to embrace artificial intelligence and machine learning, and adapting the firm to work more productively as a result. So lots of things to think about. And of course, there's all sorts of things that go around this. It's about trust. It's about trusting your people. It's about ethics. Gosh, that's a whole other lecture in itself in terms of the ethics. And privacy. And of course, there may be legal and regulatory factors. And those are going to be different country by country, market by market. So there's international considerations if you are a very large company in terms of what does this all mean, what can I not do? It's quite mind-boggling. So although some of these things, the trust and the ethics may be seen as somewhat softer factors, they are critically important in terms of the success if we are going to embrace artificial intelligence and machine learning. So what we need are so-called T-shaped marketeers, so where we have a specialist skill in one particular area, the depth of knowledge, but broad skills across the whole range of marketing. So really, it's a little bit of a headache for leaders, getting the right skills, the right knowledge, having analytical mindsets, having marketing mindsets, having the legal understanding, those regulatory requirements, having the cultural perspective of an international marketplace. And of course, it's going to take some money. It's going to take some investment. And I really do think, we have to think of marketing budgets as investment. So you need to be able to measure the return on marketing investment. We often forget to do that as marketeers, and that's not a good thing, because this can be quite a significant amount of money. So what could the future hold? I mean, who knows? Now, interestingly, in 1973, which is ages ago, an American author called William Harrison, he wrote a short story called Rollerball, and that was then made into quite an iconic film called Rollerball in 1975. And the story of Rollerball was all about the world in 2018. And that world was where corporations had replaced countries. And it was all a bit sort of far-fetched and crazy, but interestingly, a renowned academic, Professor Harari, in his address at the World Economic Forum in Davos in 2018, his speech was entitled, "Will the Future Be Human?" And you can see this, it's on YouTube, and it's about 40 minutes if I remember rightly, and it's really worth listening to, because some of the stuff he talks about is really quite scary. And in his address, he talks about digital dictatorships. He talks about those who hold the data will hold the power. And he goes on to suggest that that's not necessarily governments. These digital dictatorships could be organizations. And obviously, since he's made that speech in 2018, we've seen relatively recently the Facebook Australian government clash. So there's a lot to think about. It's a bit scary, but it's not going to go away. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, we need to embrace those to make sure that we don't lose out, and perhaps we're not being dictated to. So the future, who knows? It's what you make it. And that's it for me. So thank you for listening. And if there are any questions, I will do my best to answer those.
Thank you so much, Debbie. This was really insightful, and I'm sure there's lots more to learn from you. So we'll definitely organize a follow-up session with you in the future.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Has anyone typed in any questions in the chat box, or would you like to speak now?
Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
My name is Daphne. I have one question for you.
Yep.
I'm in the broadcasting industry, so I'd like to find out from you, as a sales executive, licensing content and responsible for platform marketing, how can I apply the 7 E's, the 7 UEs in marketing the programs that I'm licensing, as well as the channel itself?
So I would approach that in the same way that I would if I were applying the 7 Ps. So I would just create a table, and I would put the list of the 7 E's in one column. I would think about what does that mean in terms of whether it's one customer you're looking at or whether it's a segment that you're looking at. So what does experience mean for segment X? What does it mean for segment Y? what are those exchange? What do they need to do in terms of exchange? So what price points, where's the sensitivities? I would think about, do I know where they are in terms of the place? Where else do I need to be? And so on and so forth. And I would just literally create it in that way. Again, I think it goes back to how good, how robust is the data that you've got yourself that allows you to apply, well, any framework, but here we're talking about the 7Es, because the quality of the data that you hold upon which you're going to base those decisions will reflect on the quality of the decision that you make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a last follow-up question, because my market, which is mainly, especially for licensing content, is mainly on production side, and it's locally and internationally. But what I've experienced in the past few years, I've been working with both local and international. My local target market are very price sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I improve our services in terms of making them understand the structure and obviously the costing that goes beyond the production, and why the licensing costs or rates are the way they are, but using the exchange factor.
So I think if they're very price sensitive, I think it's a case of demonstrating how you add value in terms of that exchange practice, because at the end of the day, you still got to make a profit. And the other thing, and I don't know if you're able to do this, but I mean, it might be looking at your own cost base as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So see if you can, you take out any of those costs. But again, if they don't want added value and you are offering added value, what can you take away from what you're offering in order to remain competitive?
Okay, thank you so much, Debbie.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? You can always email me if you have got any follow-up questions. Then my email is on here. There we go. So it's just simply Debbie at Oxford PEG, so oxfordprofessionaleducationgroup.com. I'm conscious of the time if there aren't any other questions, because I believe that Charmaine, Maria, I think you wanted Jane to say something about the Chartered Institute of Marketing.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much again, Debbie. This was very insightful. Again, I'm going to ask Maria to also post her email address in the chat section, so that if you've got any other questions or any other comments, or also if you'd like to receive the Journal of Strategic Marketing newsletter, if you'd like us to add you to the mailing list, please send us your email address and we'll gladly do so, and you'll receive it in the next week. But our new one is coming out on Monday. So thank you, Jane. Over to you.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Debbie. Super presentation, as usual. Very insightful. I think the comments in the chat box are fabulous and show the appreciation that everyone has, and great turnout as well. Yes, I'm Jane. I'm Managing Director of Oxford Professional Education Group here in the UK. We are a sister organisation to the IMM Graduate School. So hopefully we're going to be doing a lot more collaborative work together. Our background is also in marketing and supply chain, but mainly marketing, with Oxford College of Marketing, which is our sub-brand. Oxford College of Marketing is the largest Chartered Institute of Marketing qualification provider in the world. Yes, and so we are absolutely delighted to be bringing our qualifications to South Africa in the very near future. The Chartered Institute of Marketing has over 50,000 members, and it is, I believe, and Debbie will correct me if I'm wrong here, but it is the largest professional marketing body globally.
Yes, it is.
And it is. The pinnacle, obviously, of its members are the fellows of the Chartered Institute of Marketing and also chartered marketers. So it is possible for you to work your way through some professional qualifications through the CIM, which Oxford College of Marketing deliver, and together with your experience reach a chartered marketer, which is obviously something that everybody wants to put on their linked profile in the sector. And the membership benefits include a magazine, career advice, mentoring, and a content exchange hub, so to keep you up to date, and some free courses as well. And the qualifications start from the very basic right through to a postgraduate level. And as I say, Oxford College of Marketing are the largest provider of CIM qualifications globally. We have a fantastic pass rate of 97%, I think was the last examination board. So we're really supportive. And we'll be bringing the CIM qualifications to South Africa in the very near future. Is there anything else you need me to cover, Charmaine?
No, I think that's more than enough. Thank you so much. Just as a matter of interest for the IMM alumni or everyone that's tuned in, and if you've given us your email address, we will keep you updated with the progress made on the CIM partnership or association with Jane. So thank you so much for everyone joining us. We'll be sending out an email or communication about our next session. I think we might skip April because of all the public holidays and long weekends, but we'll be back in May with another very interesting topic. Thank you so much and enjoy your weekend. Bye,
Thank
Jane.
you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.